What's up, everybody? My name is Keelan Morrissey, and this is my brand new series, Don't Worry. So this series is a new idea I had, and it's completely different than my other series, Keeping It Keelan, which is all about pop culture and all that kind of stuff. This series is all about mental health, personal well-being, and just general happiness and improving your life. So I have found in my own life, particularly these past couple years, that it is extremely critical to be conscious of your decisions and your emotions and your thoughts in life. And shaping your mental health and your well-being, that shapes everything else in your whole life. It shapes how you perceive everything. It shapes just the lens with which you look at the world and the people you care about. And it also changes your perception of yourself. Really, up here, that's everything. Like what you think, what you feel, what you believe, how you treat yourself, how you treat your circumstances in life, all of that. It is so crucial to be super mindful of that. So this series is called Don't Worry. And the basic premise of the series is that I will be giving advice, expertise, personal experiences, and personal strategies I have to help people not worry, to help people reach a happier state of mind, be more mindful of their lives, and all that stuff. So before we get into today's topic, I want to address the title of this series, the reason I call it Don't Worry. So my dad always taught me that worrying is pointless. Worrying is damaging to people, and it doesn't accomplish what we think it accomplishes, right? So he always said, never let the worry become greater than the actual thing, which is what many people do, unfortunately. We, as humans, we worry about things, whether it's a test at school, or a job interview, or the health of someone we love, or something very serious and dear to us. It can be trivial, or it can be very personal and real. But either way, we worry intensely, we fret, we stress, and those are negative emotions that don't necessarily need to happen, because what is that doing? What is the worrying actually accomplishing? And in actuality, it's nothing. There are things we can do and feel and think that are more productive to the situation than these negative emotions like worrying. When I say don't worry, that sort of captures the essence of what my dad always taught me and what I have found in my personal life to be true. Because he used to tell me that back in the day, and I never really listened. I listened, but I didn't take it to heart. And now that I have experienced this and I've made that change within myself, I feel like it really does mean something. So the phrase don't worry, it doesn't mean never worry. It doesn't mean never feel negative. It doesn't mean be happy all the time, because that is a toxic mindset to have. You can't be happy all the time. But the purpose of this series is to teach people what I have learned through my own trial and error and through my own life experiences about converting negativity into positivity, how to achieve a happier state of mind in life in general, and how to unlearn these sort of basic instinctual things that are actually counterproductive to our mental health. So today's topic is dealing with stress during the pandemic, how to frame and manage the anxiety that many of us may be having because of this. So, anxiety. Let me just say, I am not a therapist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I cannot provide genuine medical expertise, I can only provide personal experience. And so if what I say doesn't work for you, if it doesn't apply to you, if what I'm saying seems like an oversimplification of something you're feeling, then don't take my word for it. Do what works for you. But I know that the pandemic has induced a lot of anxiety for people. Not just anger, not just frustration, but anxiety. People feel uneasy because of the uncertainty of these times. So it's important to frame that as something that can be controlled. That's the first step always. If you view these emotions, this anxiety, this turmoil as something out of your control, as something that's happening to you, you feel like you can't control it. But anxiety is internal. It elicits a physical reaction and physical distress, but really anxiety is something that you feel internally and something that can be controlled. So what I like to do with a lot of things is I like to take more of a spiritual sort of emotional approach, and I also like to take a factual approach to things. So let's look at the facts, right? This pandemic is crazy. This pandemic is detrimental to a lot of people here in America and in the world. This pandemic has exposed a lot of evils in our system and in fellow citizens of our country. This pandemic has taken jobs, it has taken lives. It is a bad, bad, bad thing for many people. This you cannot deny, right? Eliminating the anxiety, eliminating your bad feelings towards something doesn't mean ignoring what it is. That's actually the opposite of what you should be doing. You should accept what it is. You should recognize it and say, what can I change? Can I change this pandemic? Can I alter reality and fix it? No. Unfortunately, as a single citizen, as a single human being, I cannot change what is happening in the world. I can change, however, what is happening around me, and I can change the way I perceive it. So through conversations, through meaningful discussions, I can affect the people around me. If I had friends, if I had family who, weren't wearing masks or weren't taking care of themselves or who were contributing to the problem, I have the ability to talk to them and convince them, hopefully, and protect their health. I have the ability to do that. So if you're worried about your loved ones, talk to them. That's all you can do, right? You can't force them to do anything. You can't absolutely shield them from the virus no matter what, but you can talk to them and you can put in whatever protections are logical and necessary to help them. So if you have children, that is in your control, right? You can control where your kids go and how at risk they are based on where they go and what they do. With your uncle who lives in another state, probably not, but you can still talk to these people. And so if you're worried about them, just do what you can. And if that's not enough, then you can tell yourself internally that you have done your part and you have contributed whatever you can to the general well-being of your loved ones and friends and family. Now, you might not be able to do that on a huge scale. You might not be able to make all your neighbors and everyone in the whole country suddenly start taking the pandemic more seriously or put themselves at less of a health risk. You might not be able to do that. And so if that's stressing you out, it's okay. It's okay. Just breathe and just recognize that there are certain things that are out of our control. There are certain forces in this world that we cannot control. And that will always be true. That is the nature of the world and the human population. We as people, as individuals, cannot affect the masses. But together we can. Movements and protests and petitions and political action and just this kind of thing, right? Making a video, making a series, spreading the word, that can be done. So, ask yourself first, are you taking all the actions you need to accomplish what you feel you need to accomplish? And I'm not judging. I mean, not everybody has to come on here and make videos. Not everybody has to go out and protest. And I don't know what exactly you'd be protesting in terms of the pandemic, but I'm just saying there's always ways to contribute, but not everybody has to contribute in all those ways. Just contribute in the ways that you feel you need to, that you feel are necessary for you to believe that you've done your part. And once you have done your part, relax. There's nothing more you can do than what you can do. So understand that you have done that and then say, okay, well, the pandemic is still here. Things are still crazy. Times are still unprecedented, but I've done what I can and I've made my peace with that. It is so important in these times and in life in general to only focus on what we can control. We cannot control that math test that's coming up. We cannot get rid of that. We could, if we wanted to, organize a class petition and make the teacher reschedule the test. We could. So you got to weigh your options. Do you want to do that? Or do you want to control how you respond to it? And your response is everything. Your response determines the severity of the actual thing. So the pandemic, of course, is an extremely severe thing. But it is entirely possible for us as people to feel unaffected by it. For some, that is not possible. Some people have lost loved ones. Some people have lost jobs. Some people have lost homes. Even then, I would argue there are ways that you can look at it through a certain perception that will make it better. But that still happened. And those are inarguable things that will be weighing on people. But to the people like myself who luckily and somehow have not lost anything serious and substantive because of this. We just have to breathe and understand that we are doing what we can, and we cannot control what's happening out there. So we have to control what's happening in here. And if we do that, what's happening out there will seem a lot less crazy because we'll be perceiving it as a lot less crazy. Once again, to recap, that does not mean ignoring the problem. That does not mean neglecting people who are affected by it, but we can still focus on our mental health. We can say, okay, crazy stuff is happening out there, but I'm going to keep everything neat and tidy in here, and I'm going to make sure that my reaction to what's going on does not negatively affect me more than what's actually going on. This pandemic has shown, more than anything that I've lived through, that many people have lived through, the fragility of our society. Things change so quickly. Nothing is permanent. Everything is just constantly in flux. And we don't know what the future of our country holds. We don't know what today in our country holds. But once again, we cannot control the future, so we have to control how we look at the future. And that's where optimism comes into play. Many people are just not optimists by nature, but you can still choose to make optimistic decisions and have optimistic thought processes when you please, because that is something that you can choose to do for yourself. So you can say, we don't know what is going to happen with this pandemic. We don't know how much worse it's going to get, but I am going to approach it with as much positivity as I can and try to keep my own life together, trying to keep myself sane, try to do things that will keep me happy, right? It is also about the actions we take. A lot of people say, oh, learn a language or write a book with all this spare time. Some people don't have time for that. Some people aren't driven enough to do that. Some people that's just not what they really want to do. But whatever it is, I think that it is necessary to do something. Occupy your time with something besides worrying, because sometimes when we just give ourselves massive amounts of free time, then that's when the worries and the fear and the negative feelings start to seep in and take over. And so it's super critical to at least occupy your time and brain power with something. And that can be playing games, that can be reading, that can be binging a new show, that can be just calling family. I mean, staying connected, that's super important too, because a lot of the stress comes from not having those human interactions that we all miss so much. So staying in touch with people and doing what you can is super important. I had to miss out on my senior prom because of this. And what I did was I had a virtual prom with my girlfriend. This was a while back, and we hadn't really been able to do anything yet because the pandemic was so uncertain and we didn't know what was going on. Now we've found more ways to actually spend time together, and we've gotten tested so that we can spend time together. But back then we met up outside, we wore masks, we stood 6 feet apart, and I wore my suit and she wore her dress, and we took pictures, and then had a digital prom where we hopped on Zoom or FaceTime technically, and then we sent each other food with Postmates, and then we watched a movie on Netflix Party, which is a plugin you can use. So within the parameters of COVID, within not even being able to hug someone or get within 6 feet of someone, we were still able to have a memorable prom. So if you can still make prom happen, if you can still make graduation happen like we did, I mean, you can't say that no social interactions are possible or that nothing can be done, because things can be done. So make the best out of the situation. Try to find the little joys in every day and try to create those joys. One of the first things that I did when quarantine started was I wrote a list of things that I wanted to do during all this time that I had free. I wanted to cook stuff, I wanted to learn stuff, watch stuff, read stuff, break some of my personal records, try new things. And just having those goals is really important. And that's true of life as well. If you go through life without setting any goals for yourself, then often you'll just let time go by without really hitting some of the milestones that deep in your mind you want to hit. So just like with COVID, right? Don't let this time go by wasted. I mean, do the things you need to do and then do the things you want to do, because we all have to make time for ourselves, for fun, for just mental health breaks. So to recap everything real quick before we wrap up this video, focus on what you can control and make the most out of that. Right? Stay safe. Make sure the people you love are safe. Other than that, you can't affect the world out there. So just focus on your perception of the world. Just focus on what you can control, which is your response to what's on the news and what you see out there. Just focus on your perception and your response and try to make that as calm, positive, and rational as possible. understand that our world is uncertain, but we can create certainty in our own lives through setting goals and through doing things we love and staying in touch with people that matter to us. And if you have lost people you love to this pandemic, if you have lost other aspects of your life that were very, very important to you, I send my condolences, because that is something that I don't have the best advice for that. But I believe these same principles can be applied to choosing positivity, choosing to think optimistically, and choosing to only focus on what you can control and not stress or worry over things that are out of your control. But once again, my condolences, and I hope that we see better days very, very soon. Thank you all so much for listening in to Don't Worry Episode 1, brought to you by Keelan Morrissey. Please subscribe for more content relating to mental health, as well as pop culture, as well as all my films and other projects that I have on my page. I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Looking forward to doing even more of these. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Peace out, everyone.